Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yes, I can see a few people coming in, joining in. Let me know if you're hearing me clearly. Good evening, Kosi. Good evening. Welcome to Music Business, a platform where we showcase wonderful personalities in the music business. Uh, I can see a few people coming in and joining. Tonight is going to be very, very interesting. Joshua David, I can see you. I've waved at you. I hope you wave back. Uh, Tonight, we are going to have a distinguished personality who is already on. I think, yes, I have waved at him and I'll bring him in shortly. Joe has joined. I would want him to please request me to bring him in so that I can bring him in, because we have a whole lot of issues to discuss on opera this evening. It's pretty a very new concept in Nigeria, but it has grown in leaps and bounds because of this wonderful man. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Tenor, Joe. Is coming in now. Carlos Gentil, I'm greeting you. The Dusky also joined. I'm greeting you too. Uh, I hope, can you hear me? Joe.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, okay, I can hear you.
But we can't see you.
I can't see. Yes, I can't. My video just went blank now, so I'm trying to figure it out. I'm coming.
Okay, we'll give you a few minutes. Okay, it's coming on. It's coming right on.
Yes.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you, sir?
Very, very fine. Very, very fine. I'm so excited to have you. And I believe that a lot of our viewers too are excited to have you join us, especially those that have been following you. But I need to give a brief background to who you really are, so that at least people will have, especially those who do not know who you are, will catch a glimpse of what you have been able to do and achieve. Joe Oparamanuike, I hope I got that right.
That's right.
Okay. You know, we are on the other side of the divide, so please bear with me. He is amongst the classical music lovers among the classical music lovers in Nigeria. Joe is not a stranger, and when you look at his pedigree, you find him at almost every major classical event, especially in Lagos. Joe, as he's fondly called, is a trained chemical engineer turned opera singer, and is a graduate of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, Nigeria. But he did not stop there. His love for classical music pushed him to seek more knowledge, and in 2008 to 2009, he made the best result in West Africa when he wrote the grade 8 theory of music exam and diploma in singing exam of the Associated Board of the Royal School of Music, ABRSM. He is the first Nigerian to sit for ABRSM diploma in vocal teaching and licentiate in singing in West Africa. So in other words, he opened the door gates that all they go in. So due to his unending quest for classical music knowledge, he secured a scholarship from RCS Transford in Scotland, where he studied Masters of Music Opera at the Alexander Gibson Opera School, Royal Conservative of Scotland, under the tutelage of Scott Johnson. And furthermore, he holds the licentiate of the Royal School of Music in singing and diploma of Associated Board of Royal School of Music in vocal training. And he has performed in several operas, both within and outside the country. Currently, he is the opera director of the MTN/Mozon Diploma School of Music, Lagos, Nigeria. So glad to have you with us tonight, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, sir.
Let me start with this question. Why did you leave chemical engineering for music?
Okay.
You didn't drop out from chemical engineering, did you? You were not a dropout. You were a graduate of chemical engineering.
I graduated in 2001 from Federal University.
Beautiful.
And I wouldn't say I left engineering per se, because most of the things I learned are still in my head somewhere. In a slap of my finger, I can bring them out. But what I can say now is I kept it aside to pursue the natural passion in me. That is what I can say.
Why did you do that? Because why did you keep it aside? Chemical engineering is a very lucrative business in Nigeria. Why did you keep a very lucrative business aside to further your passion in music? I know why I'm saying this, because a lot of people think that, you know, it's only those that are down the dregs in music, in other areas of life, that gravitate towards music.
Anyway, what I could say, what I will say on this is, chemical engineering is very lucrative, okay, and at the same time, music is also lucrative. One thing someone has to really bear in mind is following the passion, following what makes you happy, following what brings fulfillment in your life. And I thought to myself, in 2007 was when I made this decision. I won't forget that. I won't forget it. I was working in in an engineering company. When I made that decision, I said, okay, no, this particular time, no, I'm not going to do this. I need to move on to what I think I'm called to do on earth. Reason being that at a particular point, I decided I left music to be in an engineering company. I wasn't so happy with myself. I wasn't so happy with myself within that period. Yes, at the same time, I am also doing a lot of things in my, a lot of musical stuff in church, in my church, St. Agnes Catholic Church. And I was also singing in Muzon Choir. And I felt like, okay, this music, just go and continue your engineering. But it didn't work that way. It didn't really work that way. Because I can still tell you that after my NYSC here in Lagos, the first place I worked after my NYSC, which I did my NYSC in engineering company, the first place I worked was in a musical company, Chopin Music, owned by Larry Delano. Okay, then after that, I decided to leave music. I moved on to the engineering company called Jacobs Engineering, where I was actually doing much of marketing. At some point, I was like, okay, what am I doing? I'm not happy that I'm not doing my music. That was in 2007. I put up a resignation letter, and I left, and I walked to the director, School of Music, then director School of Music. That's Mr. Akpata. That look, I want to start teaching in the diploma, and that is where everything changed. Sorry,
Wow.
in the basic school of music, not diploma. That's where everything changed. So I would say I moved on with what I see as my essence of living.
Okay. You are called Mr. Tenor, and
Yes.
you are arguably one of the best tenor singer I have come across, both within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. But that name, Mr. Tenor, seemed to strike a chord, or it seemed to have really stuck to your cognomen. Who gave you that name?
Okay, the person that gave me that name, his name is Mr. Ugochukwu Ogoke. This happens to be when we were doing, we're working as a group, the classic tenors with Gucci, Ebunine with Stanley with Sodienye, four of us in the classic tenor. So along the line, of course, we were allowed to do other things we want to do. Along the line, I was driving home with Mr. Ugoguke. He asked me, why don't you get something that can get a name, that can put a striker, because your surname is difficult for people to pronounce.
You remember what happened last night?
Oh, and any little accent you change in my surname means something bad. So, yeah, which I wouldn't talk about here. So, that was on South Mainland Bridge. So he said, why don't you something, this and that, blah, blah. Okay, why don't you Mr. Tenor? Well, that struck a bell in my, well, like, okay, that's a good one. And that is how he did it. And he helped me to get a card at that particular period. And that is how. And this was around 2010, 2009, 10, when this happened. Like, yeah.
Okay. Joshua David said that your love for opera is unrivaled. And
she's right.
And there is no doubting that, because of your pedigree and the numerous achievements you have made. Why opera? Why opera? Why did you stick to opera?
Okay, I will put my mind back when I was in the university, Federal University of Technology, where I did the first concert ever in Futo with the St. Thomas Aquinas Chaplaincy Choir. Now the name of the choir now is called the Golden Voices. So in that small concert, we did a small short, I would say it's opera. We did a small short music drama from one folk music. So we did a small thing there. I kind of like, this is so lovely. It just came. I didn't know much about opera. The only thing I see that time was Pavarotti singing arias and all those things. Pavarotti, Domingo, Carrera singing arias. But at that particular time, it just clicked. And you know, something comes and it stays in somewhere in the brain. You carry on with your life. It came back again at some point when we did in in St. Agnes, where we did a small musical drama, a script. I made somebody write a script, and his name is Chido Hamma. He wrote a small script, and we put some music with it. It's not original music. We just put, because it's a church and stuff, we put some music to make a story out of that. And it happens to be, by the time I get to music, I started teaching in diploma. I had this urge to put up, but then I started seeing what opera is all about gradually. I put up with a diploma student, then diploma student, David Joshua was one of our students then, and he sang a role of Alfredo in the first act of La Traviata. That was the very first opera performance in Muson. That was in 2010, thereabout 2010, and this spark up more, and I started looking for admission to study singing, and I told myself, definitely there's no way I'm not going to study opera. And I got scholarship to study in the Royal Conservatory of Scotland, to do masters in singing. After 1 year, before 1 year ends, I walked down to the department of opera department. I met the head of department, Tim Dean. I asked if it is possible for me to audition for the masters in opera. He said, yes, it's possible. You can do audition and switch from masters in singing, but that's if you pass your first year. I was so sure that I was going to pass my first year because I was already doing well in my classes. I said, okay, that's fine. So what they did for me, and after that, they checked all my results and granted me the audition. I passed the audition I moved straight to masters in opera. So it has always been in me to bring out music in a very expressive way.
Yeah, and SK Oretimehin said, "You're a visionary who loved Nigeria, who loved the opera, and is achieving it in his lifetime."
Wow.
A visionary. What do you count trying to do something that is novel, that is new, in a society that actually is completely averse to the Western ideals as being too ambitious?
I won't lie to you. It was so challenging to really do this, but I count a lot on feedback I get from people when I do the little things I do. The feedback I got, especially the feedback we got when we did in 2010, when we did the first act of La Traviata. I didn't sing in that, so I directed them and conducted, and there was a lot of good feedback. Well, like, okay, this is how thing. This is not, people are not seeing this kind of thing. I'm sure that people are going to love this. All the people who attended that, who were there at that event, they quite enjoyed it, and they were like, okay. I told myself, there is a market for this. If there is a market for classical music itself, then there is a market for this opera, which is part of classical music. So I took it up, and I felt, but then I told myself, I don't have much it takes to really do this. I need to study further to be able to fit in to an extent to this. Yeah.
Yeah, and quite frankly, you have made lots and lots of achievements in doing this, because if we look at your resume, and of course, judging by like you said, what people have been saying about the productions you have made, which is quite impressive and classic, we can see that slowly and gradually people are getting to understand what the opera is actually all about. But can you break it down to our listeners or viewers who do not know the opera? Because we just start talking opera. In fact, some who see it will say opera. Now, what can you, to a layman who is watching us now, who doesn't know what an opera actually is, can you just break it down to such people?
Okay, opera is actually just to break it down in a layman understanding, is a drama set to music, and the entire music is originally composed from the libretto. If I say libretto, we use libretto, but that's the lyrics of the opera. Yes. From the libretto of the opera, composed directly, no borrowed music. Sometimes if the composer, if it is written for a particular culture, sometimes they borrow some little folk motifs, not necessarily borrowing the entire folk music. From a particular folk music, they borrow some motifs and they borrow style of those people's music. But everything written in it are original. And opera, in a way, is pure classical, which is almost the same thing with musicals. Musicals involves a lot of contemporary feel in it. Involves contemporary feel, but opera is pure classical.
From the beginning to the end.
Yes, yes.
Let me ask you this question. You performed extensively in operas both at home and abroad, and you were very successful abroad. Very, very successful, to the point that you even visited the Queen of England. I saw you with a group of opera, maybe it was the opera company you featured in, and that was not a very common feat, but it was an extraordinary feat. Yet you decided to come back to Nigeria, where opera is little known. And when I asked one of your students, he said it's because of the can-do spirit in you. Joshua David said so. Can-do spirit in you. And Genevieve said, you are the type that if you have made up your mind to do something, you just go ahead and do it. But why did you leave UK, where you were very successful at making it big, to come to Nigeria that is hardly appreciative of opera?
That's a big question. That's a big question. Okay. I wouldn't say I left Europe really for a year to come down. Over time, I do move around to making some performances and all those things. But before I left, I was teaching as a diploma teacher in museum, and I got a lot of practical knowledge in Scotland, and I felt like, okay, why don't you bring this thing back, impact some people, and one day you might still go back. So I decided I told myself I would like to come back and spend like 5 years, impact, and probably I move back again. So that was what
you had in mind.
And
something tells me that we may not release you to go back because you are going to make it big here. Because you have started something very, very novel, and it's growing presently in leaps and bounds. Only that it's interestingly, it's like Muzon doesn't want to release you to the rest of Nigeria. And yes, I feel it's high time the Muzon starts to make you an ambassador of Muzon by going to other areas to propagate the opera thing in another dimension. But we quite appreciate the patriotic spirit that you have and the love that you have for the people. But now, is opera elitist? Is it only meant for those who are in the high society to really enjoy? Because we observe that all the opera shows, most of the opera shows that are performed are done on the island. And you know what the island signifies. Those of us that are in the mainland are the Mushi people, so on. I mean,
by the way, viewers, I stay on the mainland.
I make the money on the island. Don't go.
You know if you check most of the productions we have done so far since we've been doing production in Muson, I try as much as I can not to make use of the PA system, microphones, and all those things. It's just pure sound. And this is because we have a hall that has good acoustics that can give you that. And that happens to be the hall available for us, which is a deep recital hall in Muson. We hardly do that. We hardly do productions in Share Hall. So it is majorly in the Ajip Hall, and it has a good acoustics, and it's a bit it's compact and it's cozy, and you sing if the sound flies to the back of the hall. So that's one of the reasons. And it's not that operas are meant for the elites per se. It's not. It's not. There's something Mozart did. Mozart was the person that really changed that tradition. That it makes it look as if the opera has to be something so serious, no comic in it, no comical thing in it, and all those things. And he changed a lot of things. And by the time he changed it, a lot of people, the middle class, the lower class, started buying into opera. But in a real opera house, there are sitting categories. So everybody takes the area that they can afford. Just like in a stadium, there is in a stadium you have VIP VIP stands, you have the fan stands, you have different stands. So it's what you can afford at a particular time. You just pay for that.
Yeah, I do know that we have the opera for a very wonderful performance of the opera. You need a standard stage, and Muson has that. But there are some other places that do have that, and I feel it's high time the opera company that you have start moving away from the island to some other places. For example, you can tour the universities. We're looking forward to the time when the opera company starts touring the universities. The University of Lagos has some of the best, auditorium. And there are some other auditoriums that, makeshift auditoriums that we could explore all. Don't you have that in the offing where your company starts moving away from, from the island, in fact, even going to other states? Because right now we want that to happen.
We
Okay.
do have that in mind. It will take a lot of market visibility just to check um, what can sell in such places and what can go, but that is still that is in our mind. That is in our mind to really do. Hopefully, we do it in the near future. I don't know when, but it's over time. Yeah.
Mm. Now, I want to ask you this question. Uh, I know that opera can be emotionally draining. I mean, it's not like just taking the choir. You can just come, gather the choir, and take the choir, and that's all there is to it. But there are so many things involved in the opera. Can you let us have a peep into how your working dictates within an opera setting?
Okay. First of all, the operas we do, we have to first of all ask yourself, check the character, do all the research about the opera, check if you can get the singers to fit into the character, both vocally, physically, and otherwise. So after that, you have to do your cast, and this is done more like a year before the date of the performance. So you must have fixed your date. Do you understand? So that you give enough time to the people you have cast. If at some point you do audition to get the singers, then so that they have enough time to research and check how big or how small the role they are to do is, and get back to you. Sometimes it might take up to a month for them to get back to you. Not that they have started working on the music or doing anything. Okay, and when they do get back to you and you're happy that everybody has said yes to this production, then you start dishing out the scores, dishing out their materials in which they're going to work with.
Did you say yeah?
Yeah, you have to plan this. You have to plan what you want to do. If you take it up at a very short period, it's going to be much. Most of the least production we have done, I think the smallest production, as in duration, we have done was slightly below 2 hours. And the singers have memorized this. The singers have to embed this in them, whether you're singing in Italian or whether you're singing in German, French, or English. You have to, especially the languages that are not so familiar with us. Yeah, I try as much as I can to sing and perform every opera as we do here in the original languages they are written in. That brings out the real color of the music rather than the translated version of it. So we do that. Then you make a schedule, give them like 2 months to learn their music. Within 2 to 3 months to learn their music. After that 3 months, then you can now call for music rehearsals. And we do have music. We can have music rehearsal because of this peculiar case, the situation we find ourselves in Lagos, where you can't have so much long rehearsals in a day. So we have to spread the rehearsals over 2 to 3 months. By the way, the singers have learned their music on their own. The music rehearsal, I keep telling them, your rehearsal is not a place where you come to practice your music. If you don't learn, you are letting down your colleagues. I tell them that all the time. So you have to learn your music. You know me. If you are calling for first rehearsal and you you don't learn your music on time. You
Wow.
to to perform. Then after music rehearsal, we have production rehearsal, and that is when our director comes in. We have had director at your your product. Actually, Achibugu now, actually David. So she has done great job for us in directing. So she comes in, and she's a no-nonsense person. She tells you the way it is, and you have to. Back then, we have to memorize our music. Everybody memorize their music and get ready for production rehearsal. No copy during production rehearsal, and production rehearsal might less than 2 months, and that is it. So if you calculate all these months I call, you find out that this last for up to a month. But like the rehearsals with music rehearsals and production rehearsals, so we spend like 3 to 4 months in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, I observe that in your opera, you try to situate them within a cultural context. Is that deliberate?
Yeah, not all of them. Some of them, this is deliberate because of some of the feedback we get from people from the past operas. So sometimes we need to tweak a little thing, just change, do something to attract more people, and that has worked over time, and we keep having more people turning out for our productions.
Yeah. Now, someone comes and asks that he wants to feature in an opera, your opera. What does it take to feature in an opera? I mean, in your opera, and then is there money in it?
Okay, let me answer the first one before the second one. First one is before you feature in our productions, be it major cast or like what some people say, even if you give me waka pass role, I go take them. What I do is to do a small audition for them. First of all, you must know how to read music. You read stuff, because nobody is going there to write tonic suffer for you. You have to take the music, learn by yourself, and learn all your music before the music rehearsals. So I try as much as I can to choose that I won't have to give myself so much headache. And that is what everybody does. You have to take the best people around you who have given you, whom you have seen potentials and what do you call it? What they have done good things in the audition you have. They have done for them. So it's no sentiments about it. No sentiments about. I wouldn't want to give you a music that you take the whole year to learn the music. You just have to, within 2 months, you're done with your music. And by the way, for them to understand this, so this I have like this one. This is like what somebody has to really memorize. Of course, it's not one person, but there are a lot of music inside it, and this is Latin Rentola. There are a few of them in my office in museum, like the one we did, the Baba of Seville we did in Italian, is bigger than this. It's bigger than this, and nobody is there to come and sing do do mi mi so fa mi re do mi. Then you sing after la ti do ti la fa mi re do. You think after, go and sort it out. Find use
yourself.
your own method. Study software on it on your own. Just go and learn your music. I don't care about the method in which you're learning your music. Just learn the right thing.
Mm.
Expect that you come for rehearsal, and at rehearsal, then you are learning your music. It wouldn't work. 2 years we won't even do that production.
Wow. So how
Then
the
the second,
creative money day
yeah,
salad? Money day.
that,
Na money oh.
that, that, for people waiting, for people waiting to speak broken, my brother, they hear from me about let's talk about money. What we shall okay, for those who don't understand, I have to come back. But I've seen about 3 of my European friends on the comment side. So let me just say it in English. There is supposed to be a lot of money in it if we have huge sponsors. That is the truth about it. That's the truth about it. You see, the thing there is, you can't compare the quantity of work we do in the opera compared to the quantity of work when we are singing in choir. The reason why you come for a choir, okay, the choir director or the music director has already selected the work that you're going to do, and you have to repeat that severally at rehearsal. But this is different. You can't continue repeating one session where you have like 300 pages. So, and this takes a lot of energy to learn, a lot of time, and Muson over the years have really tried a lot to pay the singers well to an extent, especially in the opera department. Yeah.
And now talking about sponsors, you know, there are a lot of people that would really love to sponsor, but when they look at the content, they feel that the content does not really speak directly to the national audience. And I want to ask, any plan to, you know, write operas that are specifically targeted at the Nigerian audience?
Yes. I studied music, but I'm not gifted in composition. If I am gifted in composition, I can compose 1 page, 2 page, but to sit down and compose 300 pages, leave it for those who can do that. I have spoken to a few, which I will not mention their names. I've spoken to a few people who are gifted in composition and also studied music. So I've spoken to a few of them to think about how we can get these original operas. I wouldn't lie to you. There are we have Adam Siberesma, who wrote about 5 or 6 operas. Late Adam Siberesma, but to get those works, you can't get those works. There's no library you can see those works. The documentation, it's not
we have we have a problem with documentation.
Yeah. So, and that's when I did a few research about him. Some of those work, like Okujaja, and there's another one that has been performed far in the Asia, in Japan.
Wow.
I read it in Japan. And other ones have been premiered and performed in England. So, and the only place I'm sure you can get that is outside this country. especially those places that they have performed it. Probably they might still have a copy of it. But somebody has tried that for me, to say, the person said that they say that you can only have access. It's more like a reference session. You can't take it away. You can't make a publish anything out of it. They only kept it there more like the archives, just reference, and that's it. But I wish the family have his library intact.
Now, Tunde Ajije is writing
That's
here.
my boss.
Yes, he says that there is the need for Nigerian opera projects. That is it not possible to have people commissioned to write opera projects, especially where you are in Luzon? I know there are a few composers, people that are gifted in composition. Is it not possible to get them together and then commission them to write things that are Nigerian in context? I do know that Bode Omojola has about 2 or 3 operas.
Who is that?
Bode Omojola. Bode Omojola.
Oh.
Yes, he has written. He has written operas. In fact, 2 years ago, he wrote an opera that was performed in the US and sent to us. Maybe I'll let you have a copy so that at least that could. But of course, we need the things that are nationalistic in outlook, that people will gravitate more towards. The other operas are good, but maybe this time around that could be one of your projects. What do you think?
You're very right. You're very right. What you just said and what my boss Tunde Ajijedu said, wrote on the comment line there. It's nice, like you have said, and the same thing I mentioned to you. I spoke to a few of Nigerian composers to help us get indigenous thing. But one thing there is, if money no dey ground,
back now.
people burn, don't wake up.
I know. I know.
What you have said, the right word there is to commission them, and this has to involve money. And I pray to have such funds to commission people, and you buy the right to perform them severally. Commission people. If you commission somebody, okay, you have an agreement with the person, pay the person off on that. It's a huge amount of money to pay an enlightened person off entirely of his own intellectual property. Some might not want to get that, they might want to get royalty over time it's performed and all those things. So it depends on the agreement. So if I have that fund, definitely I would do that. And at the same time, I will speak further with my boss, Mr. Tunde, and see if he's one of our bosses in Nizon, to see if we can commission somebody to write 45 to 1 hour opera. That would be a lovely thing. So we'll look into that further from where we have thought before. We'll look into that further and see how that can be brought to light. It's all about funding.
Okay. Mr. Tunde is saying good explanation. So
good explanation.
now, this lockdown season, I saw on your Facebook or your Instagram that you were preparing for a project before the lockdown season came. And of course, the lockdown season has affected majorly every aspect of our lives. And the prediction is that for a year or two to come, this might be our new normal. social distancing. Now, what we cannot continue to stay in our house. What is the plan? What are we planning as an opera, the Muson Opera House? What's the offering? How do you expect?
The truth about it, nobody knows how things. Nobody can say this is exactly how things will turn out to be. And there are people who want to start up their life immediately. They don't care. There are people who want to stay back. But from my own side, I think give and take 4 to 6 months. It might even be too much in Nigeria. In this our country, Nigeria,
we'll get back.
Life will begin normal.
Well, let's just assume it doesn't. Let's just assume. Don't you think the virtual thing is the way to go now? I saw you experiment. I saw you experiment on it, and it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we did. We did a few virtual singing where we did in Vapensiero, and we're also working on a few other ones now. Our country, I doubt if this is going to really work out because we have so many challenges. Okay. You have to buy data. You need to talk about electricity. You have to talk about the connectivity. Do we have the bandwidth, if that's the right name for it, to carry with this? I do online teaching now in singing teaching, voice training online now. We are doing online, but we keep running into problems with the videos not moving in the right way, the sound not being in the right way, and all these things. So even the 4G we have now, it's not everywhere in the country. It's not even everywhere in Lagos. And that is another challenge. And if someone says we're going to try virtual singing or virtual performances after the lockdown or this coronavirus season is over in Nigeria, we can't survive doing that up to a month, and we are back. We start clamoring coming back to normal. So if it happens, then there's no way we can't go in that same line. If it happens that it has to be virtual, then we have to tap into it and follow in that line. That might even pay a lot because people will just sit in their home and watch. But
bedroom opera.
Not even parlor opera. You just stay in your house and watch it. But how will the economy run? How will we run the economical situation of Muson? How will it move? So we keep looking for sponsors. What about the gate ticket? Are we not going to get ticketing and all those stuff? So I still believe, like I said earlier, in this Lagos we live in this Nigeria we live in. Life is already going on now.
It is, but but of course, everybody is trying to be cautious because we don't know to what extent this has really affected us. Maybe in a few months from now, time will tell. But of course, there is the need to have a plan B, so that well, I understand Muson is still on via virtual teaching. even though we have a few problems here and there. But in terms of performance, I do understand that uh, uh, we have challenges with the bandwidth, have challenges with the connectivity. So, but somebody is asking a question. Uh, just as Sammy says, do you think opera audiences are educated? Do you think they will ignore the present reality of social distancing and get back to the opera houses?
Okay, I can answer that. The a little this education we talk about is also individual.
Okay.
It's also individual education. It's after your education, you can think about how do you want to behave in the society and all those things. We know at some point in the House of Rep or the Senator, they carry seats and throw around, and those are still, and those are educated people that we see them. Do you understand? So, if life goes normal, definitely there's nothing like social again. We can't. This virus, kind of the virus, has come before and gone. Life went normal. SARS came, life went normal. Ebola came. After that, life went normal. There was this E. coli infection that happened that killed a lot of people in Europe, and it came, and life went normal. So it's not about that they're going to ignore social distancing. What I'm saying is that once life gets normal in this place, there's nothing like social distancing. My Oga family, that's Samuel Ajose.
Yeah.
So they're very educated and they know the right thing to do. But if life has gone normal, then they will not think about anything like social distancing. That's like what I think. Yeah.
It's okay. So our time is really running so fast. Time flies when we have fun. Can you give us your parting shot about the state of music, classical music in Nigeria, and what you wish should really happen?
Okay. I wish a lot to happen in our music from where we have been doing already. By the way, those who are doing, there are people who are doing great job in classical music. There are people who are doing great job in classical music. Just like I would talk about when I was studying engineering in my school, there are a lot of things that we were studying then that other inventions have overtaken them, but we are still studying it. So what I'm trying to drive is that every person who is doing this classical music should always strive to be a better classical musician than he or she is today. That is if we keep improving from where we are now to the next level, you won't know, you can't, there's no two ways about it that our classical music in the next 5 to 10 years will be something to talk about. And by the way, the classical music I'm talking about, not just the Western classical music, including our own music, African music, Nigerian music. Indigenous African music. We still need to keep improving, keep being innovative, keep bringing differentiation to get so many things together.
Thank you very much. It's been nice having Joe Oparamanuike. I think I said it well. Thank you. We do hope that when we call some other times, you'll oblige us. Once again, I want to say big thank you to everyone